Gracias por mantener la conexión con Americano Media. Les habla Lucia Navarro. Hay nuevas revelaciones sobre una carta del Buró Nacional de Juntas Escolares que enviaron a la Casa Blanca después de un memorándum que fue emitido por el fiscal general Merrick Garland, diciendo que era necesario el apoyo de fuerzas federales antiterrorismo para controlar a algunos padres en las escuelas. La investigación del Comité Judicial del Congreso muestra que el fiscal Garland politizó al Departamento de Justicia para ejercer presión. A partir de ahora voy a comenzar a hablar en inglés porque mi siguiente invitado es el congresista Jim Jordan. With us is Congressman Jim Jordan. Thank you for your time, Congressman.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Thank you so much. Let me begin with the just released report about parents' rights to protest against parents of the curriculum taught in schools. This results from a memorandum issued by the General Attorney's Office instructing the FBI to investigate any gatherings of parents at school boards that they deem to be a threat. What do your office find about a potential cooperation between the nation's School Board Association and the Biden administration?
Yeah, what we found is we issued this interim report. What we found is this was all manufactured. You know, the Democrat says, oh, no, they first said there's this huge threat across the country. Parents are threatening school board members and threatening school officials. That wasn't true. There was not that threat, but this was a manufactured issue that they put together and started with the Attorney General's office with this memorandum back in October of 2021. They told us that there was no coordination between the Biden administration and school groups prior to them issuing the memorandum. We found out there was coordination. And they also told us, Democrats says, that there was no way counterterrorism measures were used against moms and dads, but in fact they were. 25 different parents around the country were investigated. Only one turned into a full investigation and no one was charged with anything. This was all a manufactured thing to turn it into a federal issue designed to help them politically. And that, I think, was the key takeaway. This was all driven by politics. So we think this interim report points that all out and shows that this administration was operating for political reasons, thinking it was going to help Terry McAuliffe in that gubernatorial race in Virginia back in the fall of 2021. In fact, it backfired. Actually helped, I think, Glenn Youngkin win the governor's race in Virginia. But this report points out just how wrong the Justice Department was when Merrick Garland issued that memorandum and they put this process into place.
So in your view, the Biden administration is using federal law enforcement to weaponize against American parents?
Yeah, it's exactly what happened. And like I said, there were some parents who had the FBI call them, some show. I mean, this was ridiculous. And we had U.S. attorneys. Now, remember, this is Democrat U.S. attorneys in the Biden administration say this was a manufactured issue. We talked with law enforcement. They saw no need for this, no need for it to be a federal issue and at the federal level. But this was the politics behind it all. And you had this National School Boards Association meeting with the Biden White House, talking with the Biden Education Department and the Biden Justice Department before they ever sent the initial letter to the Bidens, to the White House asking for this to be put into place. So that letter goes on September 29th. But before that, they had all these meetings. And then 5 days later, after the letter is sent, September 29th, 2021, 5 days later, October 4th, is when Merrick Garland issued his memorandum, putting in this process and this apparatus for people to report on parents. And as a result of that, as I said, 25 parents were investigated. None of them charged with anything, which again, I think just underscores how this was an all manufactured issue from the get-go.
So that should be frightening for every parent, right?
Particularly when you couple it with other things we've learned. We know that the Richmond field office a few months ago was discovered they had a memorandum saying if you're a traditional Catholic, they were going to treat you as a violent extremist. And then we had the whistleblower come testify in front of our deposition in front of our committee, where he told us that they were looking to target pro-life supporters as well. So when you put all that together, parents, pro-lifers, and traditional Catholics, that is frightening stuff, but that's exactly what we have learned in our investigation.
So what do you expect to happen after this report, and where could people go to read it?
Well, the report will be on the website. It'll be public today. I think it went public actually last night. Mm-hmm. And then later this week, in the Constitution Subcommittee of Judiciary, there will be a hearing on this subject. Chairman of that committee is Congressman Mike Johnson, a great member of Congress, constitutional lawyer, in fact. He will have a hearing on this where we'll hear from some parents about this particular issue and what's been involved and what's happened over the last year and a half.
Let me move to the Alvin Bragg case with President Trump after your letter to the district attorney Bragg about former President Trump and his possible indictment. What do you think they have, or is that another example of government weaponization?
Totally. Remember, the Justice Department was not going to bring this case. The Federal District of New York just said there's no case here. The former district attorney, Mr. Vance, there in Manhattan, didn't bring the case. And even the current district attorney, Alvin Bragg, when he first was elected, decided not to bring this case and then suddenly changes his mind. And now what could have prompted him to change his mind? I think the key thing that happened was President Trump announced he was running for president. And suddenly he's going to go after him. So this is the guy who presides in a city now where they got record levels of crime. This is the individual who downgrades most felony cases to misdemeanor cases. When he brings felony cases, he loses half of them. And his key witness, if you can believe the press reports, his key witness, his star witness, is Michael Cohen, a guy who went to prison for lying, a guy who came in front of Congress a few years ago in a hearing and lied 6 times. That's their star witness. So this is a sham. This is all political. And I think the country fully understands that.
Yeah, I read the response that the office of Mr. Bragg's issue, and they say the crime in New York City is actually going down. But you are spreading several important investigations that could shape American politics for years to come. Is your main focus for the legislature a more inquisitorial one that as a legislator? Or how can this 18th Congress balance much needed investigations with much needed new policy?
No, great question. So we have a duty to do oversight, to do the investigations, to get the facts on the table so the country fully understands what's happening. We believe that far too many of these federal agencies have actually been turned on the very people that they're supposed to be serving. So we're going to do the investigations, get the facts on the table, and then we have to propose legislation, policy changes to fix the problems. And also, in conjunction with that, look to use the appropriations process, the power of the purse, to say, if you're doing certain things, no money can go for that. We're not going to be spending taxpayer dollars for this type of activity. So you use the legislative process and the power of the appropriations process, the power of the purse, to stop the behavior that we're uncovering in our investigations. That's how a legislative body is supposed to work, and that's what we're focused on doing.
Mr. Congressman, thank you for this opportunity to talk to Hispanics through Americano media. Jim Jordan represents the District 4th from the great state of Ohio and is chairman of the Congress Judiciary Committee. Thank you. See you next time.
You bet. Thank you.
Y nosotros continuamos con más en Americano.